Night City is one of the most beautiful cities in gaming. A sentence you've probably heard a dozen times if you've played Cyberpunk 2077. But what is actually going on under the hood of Night City? How did it ruin gaming forever? And what can AAA games learn from the various successes and failings of Night City? With this video, we'll discover the answers to those very questions. Most people I've talked to don't understand the roots of Night City and how it was adapted from tabletop RPG to video game. So stick around and you might just learn something new. Night City ruined gaming for me because I never quite knew what other game settings were supposed to be till I stepped foot into Cyberpunk 2077 all the way back in 2020. As we all know, Night City is a horrible place to live in. From the very moment you're born, you could be forced into brutal education, where you'll have to contend with an extremely high suicide rate, or you'll be required to contend with the gangs in the streets just to barely make ends meet. This puts all the youth in Night City in extreme danger from the very beginning. We actually see glimpses of this with David Martinez from Edgerunners. He's strung up between a street kid and corporate upbringing. Even though he's actually got it pretty good walking through trash and violence on the day-to-day, his entire world is flipped on its head when the only family he has left dies in a random highway street fight that could have very well killed him too. The mortality rate for youth in Night City leaves a lot to be desired, and that's not even mentioning the emotional impact that growing up in NC has on the adults who do survive, often becoming cruel, distant, and ruthless depending on their origins. A reference in my home city of Melbourne, a city that also sucks. The suicide rate amongst youth is 1 or 2 per week. In Night City, the daily body count ranges in the 20s to 30s, and I'd wager that a disproportionate amount of those are the 15% of youth facing extreme homelessness and gang violence on the daily. Night City is just not the place you want to be, especially as a child. But how does adulthood fare? Why is it arguably worse? And what does Night City's leadership do about it? Spoiler alert, it's not that much better than childhood. From the long, grueling, soul-sucking work that corpos have to deal with, to the even more dangerous jobs and gigs that the street kids have to take on just to make ends meet. Adults in Night City often have to deal with the 155 homicides per 100,000 Night citizens each year, an estimate roughly 30 times higher than America's current average. During River's quest, he casually mentions that 20,000 people go missing or are killed in Night City every single year. Although there are some leaders advocating for genuine change like Jefferson Peralez, there's still powers at play literally trying to mind control the man to do their bidding. There's just no winning in Night City. Corruption is so integral to the heart of the city that it's impossible for the leaders to make genuine change, which is why even hope is destroyed in this dystopia. The only hope most Night citizens have is to die as a legend, go out in a blaze of glory and turn into a drink at the afterlife. And that inevitable day that you become a statistic before your time? Well, if you don't have a lot of money or some corporate package, then you're reduced to nothing but a shitty can of ashes with a name. All this is to say, Night City doesn't really give a damn about anybody. It's more like an omnipotent, omniscient beast that feeds on the flesh of each and every citizen, no matter how high they might reach. I just want to share some channel analytics with you guys. Less than 3% of you guys are subscribed, and even though I cherish each and every single view, I'm really trying to do this thing as a career. And every time I see that number go up, I genuinely jump for joy. Thank you. Let's delve into some lore on the mind behind the madness. Mike Pondsmith was born in 1954, designing games right from the get-go. He graduated from the University of California with a Bachelor of Arts and a Bachelor of Science. His first game was a mecha game with Japanese influence. In 1988, he released Cyberpunk, the role-playing game of the dark future. Initially inspired by tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons, Mike Pondsmith was inspired by the gritty realism of 1980s science fiction like the novel Hardwired, Blade Runner, the film Streets of Fire, and the anime Bubblegum Crisis. I've personally never played it, but after getting really into Baldur's Gate 3, I might give it a whirl. From the outside looking in, the Cyberpunk tabletop RPG games low-key look really cool, and it gave me a thought that made me super sad because we'll never ever see it. Guys, imagine a Baldur's Gate 3 game, but instead of a D&D Faerun base, it's a Cyberpunk NC base. Holy info hazard. The world feels alive with the smoke and mirrors, but peel back the curtain on a second playthrough and you'll realize that you're in an advanced Ubisoft checklist game with the occasional gig that makes you think a little bit. Night City is missing reactivity from the world, consequences to your actions, and choices that genuinely matter. I literally have a video going into depth on how the factions of Cyberpunk barely react to your actions and why CDPR fumbled the bag with regards to Night City's interactivity. It's still a good setting, in my opinion, just by virtue of the fact that it did make me feel like uncovering the Portrayal mystery, which mortified me, the river quest, which had me uneasy the whole time, and the impoverished, homeless, literally on the streets part of Pacifica that had me shocked with just how entranced I was with the world design. But just because the world is picturesque, and I feel a little bit, doesn't excuse the lack of interactivity and missed potential found in Night City. Do you love Cyberpunk? Do you want to talk about Cyberpunk? Then join my Discord today. I check it every single day about 400 times, so you can probably come in and call all my takes rubbish and I'll respond within the minute. I personally believe that there's a lot of lessons Night City's gaming adaptation can teach the gaming industry as a whole. For example, there needs to be way more balance between making the map flashy and cool versus actually making the world breathe and be alive. In the words of a great man,
just by looking at every single crevice of the city that a poor Polish femboy slave spent hours modeling every goddamn recycle bin until his hands bled.
And I felt that because CDPR took a paper-based world and brought every little precinct to life. Every gang with perfectly disgusting models and so much more. It's more like a playable painting rather than a game. And balancing the workload so that instead of being 80% painting and 20% game, it can be 50-50 like Fallout New Vegas, Red Dead, and a lot of other games is something that I think gaming needs to genuinely focus on. It's one thing to make the game look good for trailers, but it's another thing entirely to mislead people on just how reactive and alive the world is, which is what CDPR, like it or not, did with their marketing campaign. Another final thing, games need to have fun with an adaptation. The Maelstromers are weird chrome junkie fent munching cyber psychos. Cool, give this girl 3 boobs. Call this tweaker Dum Dum, and make sure that the usurper Royce has a giant robot mech right at the beginning of the game. The rule of cool and loose, fun-based adaptations that CDPR did here is something gaming needs more of, in my opinion. If you enjoyed that video, make sure to subscribe and like, and check out this playlist where I dissect many of the greatest mechanics in Cyberpunk 2077. Goodbye.